live from the sunny side of the apocalypse. This is State of the Game. I am your noble host, Dano. I carry all of the positive characteristics of Adam Sandler's dramatic characters as well as his comedic characters in one. So that's kind of my deal. And I am lucky enough here to be joined by my co-host. I don't know, I'm breaking the news here. My co-host has a superpower.
Okay.
But it's to control the minds and actions of chickens. So it really hasn't come into play for him.
Literal chickens.
It's not something that's going to help him. Yeah. So he leaves the chickens alone. He doesn't want the chickens to do anything they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, K. Diggy, for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I try to step up the introductions every week for you, sir.
I can tell, yes.
And Kay, happy Gideon Day to you. So yeah, pretty exciting. So we are lucky enough. We are the International House of Game here.
I love that. That's good.
My guest, my esteemed guest, the godfather of Crate 808 Empire, Kam Thandi, he's not our first UK guest. He's not our second UK guest. He's our third UK guest.
Boom.
That's what we do.
Boom. I'm honored to be here.
I was thinking about that, Kay. We've had UK guests, Australian guests, Jamaican guests straight from Kingston.
Absolutely.
Shit is awesome.
We're international.
The life we lead is unfucking believable.
That's mad. I love it though. Brand new world.
I mean, it shows you the globalization of hip hop. Like it's really, it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. That actually brings me on to a point I want to talk about later on the state of the game in 2022. Remind me if I forget. I have a point on international globalization of hip hop. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Perspective's key, and that's why I love hearing you guys talk and other podcasts out there doing their thing. And every year it's growing and it's stronger and it's a bit more in depth and a bit more geeky. Geek each other. We're getting even geekier. It's great. Absolutely. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kay, I would say this is the hardest year of building this list ever. No question.
Well, half year. I mean, we're not even. We're halfway through, man. Like,
yeah. This is boot camp shit. Like, I swear to God, I had 25 entirely other albums.
What? A list of like 70? No, that'd be 50. A list of 50. Good work.
Wow.
It was like, if you look at like Miles Bowen Morning Travels on Fake 4, Brain Orchestra, right? Mm-hmm. His album Big Brain from this year. If you look at I could go on and on with all of the amazing albums. Old Grape God, Homesick, right? Like on and on with these sparkling gems, these weird little sparkling gems that were out there.
I mean, like we say every week, every week it's just been consistently. There's been at least one or two solid releases every week. And what are we? So we're about 25, maybe 25, 26 weeks in.
Yeah, that's a lot of projects.
Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, most weeks I'm overwhelmed, but I can't imagine, having to make like even a mid. I can't even imagine what the year-end list is going to look like. That's just going to be ridiculous. But a half year, mid-year is a difficult task in itself as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as we speak, Lupe just dropped today.
I know, yeah. I was going to say
Fiasco?
This. Yeah, Lupe Fiasco. Yes. Zion. What was it? Something Zion? I can't remember. Yeah.
Zion and Drill something? Drill music in Zion?
That's a heavy name. But yeah, already sounding like it will be probably on lists at the end of the year. you know,
the singles are crazy. I mean, I haven't heard it yet because it's Giveon Day, but you know, I'll definitely hit that hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't even, and you know, and then you have surprises like that. Like I didn't even know Lupe was coming out.
Yeah, I think he's done a part of Mural. I think is it part 3 then? It would be a part 3. I'm sure there's a part 2 already, but he's continuing stuff that I've loved. So already, as soon as you know that, oh right, he's going into that again, it's kind of like, yeah, man. Anytime Lupe drops, it's always pretty decent. So.
But wow, yeah, no, I got to check that out.
Yeah, cool. So, Dan, you good?
Yeah, I'm good now. I think I was breaking up a little bit. Does everybody hear me?
I can hear you better now than I was at the beginning.
Yes,
yeah,
it's much clearer now.
All right, cool. So yeah, there's been a lot of people. I guess the narrative, right? The overall narrative that I've been saying is this is the revenge of pop music. 2022 is the revenge of pop music.
What do you mean by that?
Last year, I made fun of pop music last 2 years, because nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted fun dance music. Nobody wanted the new Lady Gaga album. Nobody wanted a Lady Gaga album during COVID. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sick. I can't dance around this place. Like, get out of here. So there's all the stadium festival stuff was on hold. They couldn't move it. Now, as I told Kay this a long time ago, right? My favorite time of the year is like January, February for music releases.
Right.
Because in the summer, a bunch of like big names come. In the winter, a bunch of big names come. In January, the labels don't want to put out anything. So the independent artists go nuts in the beginning of the year.
Right.
And that's when you get the stuff that kind of sets the season for it, you know? The stuff that kind of pops. And that, you know, so we honestly, 2020 and 2021 were all like those months, right? It was all backwoods music, Armand Hammer, Def C, Prem Rock. It was just a bunch of like interesting independent albums from artists that didn't care whether the festival circuit hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I'm just thinking about what came out in 2020, 2021, and what. So you also obviously run the Jules, Alfredo, like those were getting Grammy noms. So I think your idea is probably mirrored in the Grammy nominations in a way, because there wasn't much pop music. It did go a little bit different, for as much as Grammys can go different, and as much as Alchemist is underground. Like, I don't know what his streaming numbers are. I don't know how, right outside of my world, how big is Alchemist. I know my friends don't know who he is, but you know, so him getting some kind of Grammy nod. But what was that? I think Jay Electronica came back as well, didn't he? So
that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then you also had Griselda. You're right, like, and Mac Homie, like dropping some what I would call almost classic records. Pray for Paris as well. So yeah, I can see what you're saying there, Dan. Like, it was more cerebral. It was more of a vibe. I'm probably not gonna be in a festival to Pray for Paris, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think the music was a reflection of the, you know, the current mood of the society in a lot of ways. So obviously you're not going to be getting a lot of, you know, upbeat, joyous stuff, dance music, when everyone, you know, has to deal with like the 3rd, 4th strain of COVID. You know, so.
Yeah. No, I feel you. But now,
and to your point, Kay, as well, right? We were at home. We were languishing at home. So dense lyricism wasn't annoying. It was interesting. Does that make sense?
100%,
so like,
absolutely,
you know, in 2017, people were like, this Billy Wood stuff is confusing, right? In 2020, people were like, this is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
think
had
it.
time to pick it apart and listen to it from every angle.
Yeah, we had less distractions in COVID times.
But also, I think in those years, you're naturally more introspective and questioning when governments have more power over your daily life, when you also have all the stuff that was going on in the US after George Floyd. Like, you have a two-pronged thing there, Dan and Kate. I'm thinking now. One is independent artists now have space to grow because there aren't as many commercial artists dropping on the calendar. So therefore there is space, and that people aren't going to stop listening to music. They'll just find something different to listen to, maybe, for those times. And on the second side, you're naturally going to be picking apart Killer Mike and LP like lines and Billy Wood's lines, like Hiding Places as well. That's another album that came out last few years, which blew up. And you think, actually, people are more, I don't know, just maybe are more inclined to really have these lyrics hit home when everything else in their life is fucked. Do you know what I mean? Like, Woods and Lucid hit harder when it's like that, as does Carr and and Conway. Like, Conway's a different thing for me. Conway's got bigger. His pain is his personal pain, right? But we're all going through pain these last 2 or 3 years, and that's why Conway's hit me harder now, because his pain is his pain, but that pain, I still am feeling pain over the last few years. So it's weird how these artists have kind of grown in stature in my rotation. But back to you, Dan. No, I think you kind of nailed that.
And so you add to that, all the pop scene had been stashing secret weapons, right? When this clears, I got hits, right? And that's when you get the big name people coming hard. And they did this year, and it's made it almost too much, like, in terms of how great it is.
Because and another point I was thinking about is that how resourceful the underground is compared to the pop world. Like, when you have a pop album and it's like a big event album, that's a huge production in terms of collaborators, in terms of writers, in terms of getting producers, getting the machine behind it. So, when COVID kind of grinds that machine to a halt, how does the pop world adapt? And I think, talking with the artists that we've talked through over, the past year, I've come to realize how resourceful they are in terms of producing their work. And I think, COVID times really showed how resourceful the underground was. So they learned how to adapt to the times. And so now you get to 2022 when, the pop artists are releasing their big stuff. The underground has adapted already and is going to continue that trend of what they were doing during COVID. So now everything is all flowing all at once.
Can I just pick up on that point? That's brilliant. You just said that, because we had Sun Raw on the podcast, who great writer, great producer, who came, and we were talking about Black Star's album that came out this year.
Oh, yeah.
And he said something really interesting that I'd never thought about, but he was like, I wonder how much experience Yazine and Talib have actually got as underground independent artists, which is this new album, and putting it on a paywall and stuff like that. Is that an easier route than doing? That sounds like some dub. Someone's dropped some dub reggae. We're about to go to a house party right now. But I was, you're right. It's interesting, because like, even artists as big as those who are now going a bit more independent, have they got the resources that Raucous used to give them, or all the record labels they used to be on? But either way, look, I think that's a great point, and I hope it's led to an infrastructure for independent artists to be a bit bigger than they were back in before all this. But I'm not sure if that's in place or not. But yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they found new ways to produce and to do it quickly. They found new connections. They found new, relationships to really, like, if they have an artistic idea, they figured out ways to quickly implement it, and figured out they now, because of what COVID did, they've figured out how to get the resources they need to get their projects out there and get their projects done. And so you look at the underground, like there's some artists that are just producing high levels of work like every couple of months. And in a way that we haven't seen before. I mean, we haven't seen this before in terms of underground music.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan.
Dan's here. Dan is here. Dan's on a different feed in mine.
Oh, okay.
Dan, you're set.
I'm back.
Boom, boom.
Isn't this great?
There we go. Okay, the internet got.
We're here.
Yes.
So, yes, it's so the meeting of the underground and the pop is really fascinating, and you really saw it with how I caught myself doing it with how we talked about Pusha T, the Pusha T album. So you talked about Sun Ra, right? Sun Ra, part of the League of Extraordinary Content Creators, right? We put together with Gary Suarez and Rohan Patra, Rap Music Plug, and Dylan Green, Cinema Sai, and it was just awesome. And Sun Ra, we all talked about this Pusha T, and we were like taking shots at the production. We're like, you know, what is this? This is Neptunes and Kanye, and I'm like, damn, how spoiled am I? He's sitting there clowning. Like, I wish this was Seb Bash production. Like, you know, like I'm just so spoiled.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, so yeah, so let's get to the list here. I think I might have internet capability now.
Yes.
So
Here we
Very
go.
good. The picture's much clearer.
Much better.
We did it. I wonder how the audio for the first segment will work, but we did it and we survived it. So let's get to it. I had to expand it to 30 because there's too many albums that I love. It was hurting my heart.
I feel you.
All that. So
I feel you.
yeah, I mean, it's weird. So, the other album that I loved was I Self Divine, That Which Is Hidden, which
kind
of fell out of the thing. It was a beautiful album. But yeah, so well, let's get to it. Number 30, Kalani, Blue Water Road, Brian Ennals, Infinity Knives, King Cobra, 29. Kiana, it was a home, 28. 27. Teller Banks, Skullface, 777. 26, Blood Money Perez and Messiah Music secondhand accounts. So that's 30 through 26. Which Kay, do you have any you want to talk about there? Anything that stands out at you?
I mean, these is that 4 or 5? 30, 4. So these 4 were the ones. 5. So these 5 albums were the ones that were initially out of your top 25, but it hurt you so much that you had to put them in.
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to ask, what was the criteria? Did your criteria change this year? Like when you're examining these albums, what are you looking for this year? Yeah.
I mean, it's always changing, and you do a great job of holding me to that and being like, what was the overall barometer, right? This has been a flow year. This has been a year where I love hearing certain people spit, right? And people have really unique deliveries, and it creeps into their ad libs, and it creeps into all these different spaces. So the delivery has been monstrously important, right? And yeah, themes are not as important, right? There's lots of important albums with important themes that are on this list, but there's lots that are on this list that are going high, right? But The other thing I would add to flow, I would say flow plus production identity.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be the best produced album of the year, but having a production identity, having something you want to convey, it goes a long way.
Mm.
Can you think of that, Cam? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. As soon as you said that, I thought of Secondhand Accounts and Messiah Music on that, and that is what I'm thinking is like out of those 5. I'll be honest, Teller Banks, School Face 777 just couldn't. I don't know, just did not click for me. I only heard it two or 3 times, but it was like, I don't know, just couldn't nail into that. Unlike the Blood Money Perez album, which was one of the early, I think it came quite early, but like Sam, I remember that being a track where I was like, okay, I hadn't heard much of Blood Money, but I knew about Messiah Music. That was a little project that I thought, I think this is going back to what you guys were saying about this year and how like pop has kind of made a comeback. And I think this year for me on a personal level, pop made the first comeback with The Weeknd. Soon as he dropped Dawn FM, Tricks Point Never's on there, who is one of my favorites. I was like, how is that going to work? And it worked. Listen to it first time, and me and my wife are very big Weeknd fans. Trilogy, that was our jam. We went to see him on that little tour that he did. Now he's massive. We kind of don't get it. We don't enjoy it as much. It's okay, but it's not like what we used to have.
Right.
This is the album that's just like, first listen, I was like, nah, I don't think I've listened to this again. Second day, put it on, and it was just like, what was I thinking? Just going into that. So that the pop sense definitely come in there. But for me, my favorite project so far this year all came in that first 2, maybe 3 months. This was one of them, Secondhand Accounts. I'm sure it was around that time. And there was so much Mugs Drop Gold with Riggs and more Chores. I think that came around that time, maybe. Lord Queso, big up, you had him on the pod. I think that is my kind of idea of, oh shit, this is all like really early stuff. I really got into it, and nothing, bar maybe Kendrick, has got near that in the last 3 or 4 months. So my mid-year is really about January to March. So going to this 5 though, that's what made me think of Blood Money Press. It's been a long time since January, but fuck, I need to go revisit that again because
it's 3 out of those 5, right? Three out of that 5 are just beautiful examples of that criteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flow, delivery, /delivery, production identity, right? That's the Brian Ennals, Blood Money Perez, Teller Banks, all with really unique deliveries that will stick with you, right? That will not, you won't forget it. When their voice comes on. Sleep Sinatra dropped an album today, and Teller's on the first song, and Teller says some amazing shit on there. I don't even know how to paraphrase it, man. This is some amazing shit that is just so beautiful. And so those, like, that 777 is the most conventional underground record of those 5. It's not my favorite of the 5 Teller Banks albums that dropped at once. And we'll get to that. But I love it, and I love it's a showcase for weird flows. Sequences on there, killing it. Prose is just awesome. I love hearing these gravelly voice, strange sounding people. I used to joke. I interviewed Sequence and joked that he sounds like he's been smoking since he was a baby. But I love him, and so. You realize as you get older that the GOATs, some of them you don't even care about. So some of the people that were like the top of your era, you don't even care about 20 years later. It's the weird little gems. It's the people you remember, those weird little gems, and those people. And man, Secondhand Accounts is so fucking good.
Absolutely.
It's like, if you're like, I don't know, Hip Hop Golden Age had it like number 1. I was like, I can't fight you on that. Like it's a dense album, but it's also a beautiful articulation of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so well curated lyrically in that sense. So yeah, I love it. And like Blue Water Road is a very personal album. Kate Kalani has really grown as her writing has grown. And so that she's not pulling any punches. And I think the relationship with 070 Shake has been good for both of them in that sense. When artists get together, they learn from each other. It's been awesome to watch that. Kiana is from Chicago, and that is just a warm, fun, soulful album with a good heart. It won't steer you wrong. I need some of that shit.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
Was that Gregory Porter shit? Trying to let the sun shine sometimes. She does that. So
Love that.
shout out to the album. It's got a lot of love in it. 25. Let's go to the next section here. Banditos, right on. Real Bad Man, Boldy James, Killing Nothing. Chez Noir, Food for Thought. Hooray for the Riff Raff, Life on Earth. John Morant, Here, There, and Everywhere. Yep. As everybody's picked up, this is not a best rap album list. This is not. Everything's going to be on here. I'm just dumping it. It's all there. So Banditos are. They opened for the Alabama Shakes back in the day. They're like a southern rock band. And they make jams. So this is like, I listen to this a lot. It's in the car a lot. It's family friendly to listen to, but it pays off. My wife has this expression, because my wife was a singer, and she says, she really talks about how songs need to kind of pay off and hit their crescendo. Right?
It
builds. It's got to build to a payoff.
Yeah.
Satisfying,
Boom.
Mariah Carey style, bigness. And the Bandito songs all do that. They pay off. Like they're big jams.
Okay. Anything that's tapping into my love for Creedence, Allman Brothers, if this is what this is talking about, if you're going into that, I'm here for that. Absolutely.
No, it's I love it. And there's no weird shit going on there. Killing Nothing is weird because Killing Nothing wasn't even on this list 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
But it's 24. I can't stop listening to Boldy James rap. I love listening to Boldy James rap. I haven't got a chance to tell you. I view Boldy as an episodic MC.
Right. In what sense?
He's an MC where like every album feels like the new season of Boldy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a TV show.
Yeah.
Boldy's not a movie, he's a TV show.
Yeah.
And like he starts the album and he's just like, this guy's over here, I'm gonna fucking kill him. This guy's over here, and he betrayed that guy over there. And you're just like, oh shit, I'm here, let's go.
Yeah.
It's Boldy is enthralling. Real Bad Man is a clothing design. Like, this is bananas that this album is this good. Bojack, the Miller Lite Bojack shit.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I love all that shit.
Game Time is the one off that. Game Time and Game all the way out as well. Fucking hell. Yeah, But Real Bad Man did a brilliant project last year as well, didn't he?
Yes, this is my thing, is that Real Bad Man is a clothing designer that makes production that I like better than Big Ghost Limited. Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So weird.
Boldy's Boldy's been killing it this year, though. Got some features.
Boldy's been killing it. Boldy has a great ear.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Whoever's around him, Sterling Tolls. That's when it broke for me. He's done the Alchemist shit. I get that, but the Sterling Tolls thing was just like, who are you, Boldy James? I don't know. Like you said, it's a revamped new series. It was like Twin Peaks. He's like, you've gone Twin Peaks this season, and now next season you're going back to The Wire. You know. And,
I mean, with that, when Sterling Tolls, Main Draw McNichols came out, I was like, this is a freak thing, right? Sterling Tolls spent 1,000 years perfectly curating this album when Boldy probably didn't ask him to do that. And it came out one of the most precious gems ever, right?
Yeah.
Probably one of the best Bandcamp releases ever, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's a freak thing. And then the Real Bad Boldy came out, and I was like, ooh. Because that wasn't Alchemist. That wasn't, some precious thing. It was like, no, I'm good at picking beats. And I'm killing it all the time. Like, it was like Boldy's not going anywhere. That was the Boldy's not going anywhere moment for me. And this builds on that. This is a continuation of that.
It's interesting when you have. Sorry, Kate, go on.
I was going to say, I mean, Boldy, he's one of the artists that, I mean, he's taken the momentum that he's gained during the past 2 years, and it's like a stone rolling downhill. Like, he's just taking off now. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, think about, for me, I think 2020, the beginning of 2020 was when I was first introduced to Boldy James like that. And since then, he's been releasing projects consistently.
But even for that 10 years before that, he was that boulder's been rolling for a long time. It might not be so quick. Like, I think there was a burst after Alchemist stuff, but you're right. I was going to say, there's an interesting thing about feature MCs and feature artists. Somewhat Eminem features or anything. It transforms the whole song into him, and into his. It's like a vortex. It sucks all of it into what he is. Boldy's got this knack of like being on a Woods project and yet also being on other projects and not doing that, and kind of fitting really well, a bit like a chameleon, into different people's sounds. Like Preservation doing that beat with Woods on Atheapes.
Yep.
And you're like, that suits you so well. Yet he'll then go and do a feature on, I can't think of anything on the top of my head, but he's done other features this year that are not that at all. And you think, how are you able to do that? Like, I don't know. Does he even know he's just naturally doing it? Or, when he steps in the booth, does he just naturally do it? Or I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, Boldy seems like the person who's on all the time. You just have to plug Boldy in, and Boldy's ready to go. I've always said that when people talk to me about being a creative person, I say, it's like medicine for mental illness. I have too much in my head, and so I need to write. And I think that's what Boldy is experiencing. I think his art is very therapeutic. That's the vibe I get. I got good news for people that like hot takes. Anybody want a hot take?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
To number 23, Chez Noir, Food for Thought. Tana Talk is not on here. Tana Talk 4 is not on this list. And Tana Talk 4 is not as good as Food for Thought.
Well, I'll have to disagree with you there. I think
it's one of those weird things where, like, no one can argue that Benny's not a great MC. Benny is one of the best rappers in the world, right? But the end product isn't always that, right? The albums don't match the skill level, and there's an organizational piece to this, right? And I just think Food for Thought is a better organized album. Ladies Brunch is amazing. There's all kinds of beautiful personal moments that feel personal.
Yes, for sure.
She's not as detached as a narrator as Benny is, right?
Yeah.
When you're a detached narrator, you have to figure out a way to show the audience that you're not detached, that you care about this, right? Ka finds ways to do that, you know. I don't think Benny. So it's very dry, it's very dry. There's a dryness to Tana Talk for me. There's a dryness to some of the Conway releases in that sense, but Conway's better. Conway's better. That God made mistakes thing. That God don't make mistakes. That moment with Jill Scott was unbelievable. Right?
Yeah.
That's one of the moments of the year, you know. And that was on this list. That album was on this list.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Tana Talk for me, I love Food for Thought, by the way. You're absolutely right. Very personal. I know she's been through quite a bit of grief and tragedy in her life as well in the last year or so. With I think it's a brother passed away and stuff like that. So I knew there was going to be something a bit more personal. I didn't expect the word, maybe I should have expected it, but the wordplay was just, oh, man, yeah, that album is probably one of the best displays of lyricism for the year. I've definitely seen that. I think the only thing about is the production. Like, I love it, absolutely brilliant, but it doesn't keep me going back and discovering something new like Tana Talk. Like Tana Talk 4 for me, Ferry's Revenge. I know Tyson vs. Ali has been big anyway, but even going back, I'm hearing different things. Back 2 times is another one with Stove God. Super Plug. All them tracks I have gone back to, and they're a little bit weird, or they're a little bit like something's odd, and I kind of like that. I find something new, whereas Chez Noir isn't. It is just, I know, but they occupy different spaces in there, and that's fine. Yeah, that's kind of sometimes what you need. But I think I've reached Tana Talk 4 more.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's
I mean, and if Chez Noir was here, Chez Noir would say, "Stop using my great album to fight another great album."
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah.
And we will move on. But like, another. So, hooray for the Riff Raff! This is like a folk, rock, punkish kind of unit who've been together for a long time. They make really unique music. This one is interesting because it's got highs and lows, right? It's one of those highs and lows albums where the best songs on it are magnificent. Rhododendron, Life on Earth, Pierced Arrows. But there's some goofy stuff on here too that you're going to have to hit and figure out how you feel about. But the great stuff is so great that I kind of love it. I kind of love the whole experience of it. You know, it's less about a perfect album and more about a real experience with this group as they figure out how they want to communicate the situation we're in. But yeah, everybody should check that out. It's a good album.
Okay.
It's one of the 78,000 albums that got Best New Music on Pitchfork. Shout out to Pitchfork.
Okay.
But John Monty, here, there, and everywhere. I got to be clear. I think John Monty's got one of the best flows on the planet. I love listening to John Monty rap. And he's already released 2 albums. I think there's more coming. The one early in the year with Sadhu Gold was fun. It was just him shredding through tracks. This one is kind of it's like a real masterwork. It's got a beautiful cover. It's got. So, have you listened to John Monty, Cam?
I have, yeah, and I have to say, this was one that you were saying he was really important. I was wondering why I haven't heard of this guy, or I have, but I haven't really dug into his catalog really. But I'm glad that this is one of the ones that you dropped me, because I picked like 4 or 5 tracks here where I was like, this is the kind of music, and I suppose it ties into, I'll tie it in a minute. It's a kind of music that if you hear the first 5 seconds of, and you like it, you're in. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I don't need much more than that little window, and I'm in. And that, some people might want it to be a bit different, but I love it that way. And there's a line, there's a Sneaky Link part two, and I thought that kind of loop, and that is home. And it's what I call womb comfort, where you are back in the womb and you are that comfortable with this music. And that was exactly a prime example of that. And then my mind naturally goes, as a 90s head, naturally goes to Jesus Christ, why isn't Ghostface Killer on this beat? Just like that, you know?
Right. I mean, this is really an underground built for Ghostface Killer at this point. Like the
100%
is right in the wheel. Okay, this has got to become lingo that we institute here. Womb comfort moment.
I know.
Some of these albums.
That's the first time I've heard it, but I know exactly what he's saying. Absolutely.
Yep. So, and this has him. Summer in Brooklyn with Roper Williams, right? Oh man, Chuck Stranger's Paparazzi Posse, but like some real crazy shit on here where like, so John Monty is amazing at saying crazy shit about relationships that turns out to be real, right? It sounds like a joke, but then you hear it, you're like, nah, he's spitting real shit. He's just also funny, right?
Yeah.
And and I think it pushes other people to do the same. YL's verse on Fuck Buddies is wild. It's awesome. It's like there's real shit going on. And John Monty is just incredible to listen to. I just love listening to him. So let's move up to the next 5 here. We'll do For All Debts Public and Private.
What an album.
FC Boathouse. Lucky Day, Candy Drip. Mighty Cannons, my background. Omar Apollo, Ivory. And Lekele 47, Shape Up. Look, I'm gonna start with Lekele 47 just because, get that out of here. I am a diehard Lekele 47 fan.
Yes.
I am enormous. I love the production skill set that Lekele 47 brings. The energy is very unlike anyone else's energy. There's like, it feels like there's turn up MCs and like somber MCs now, right? You're either like Elucid or Sada Baby. Like there's no in between. And
what's Saba? Saba's in. Who's Saba?
Saba is probably in the Elucid category, but very nice things, or that recent album. Very flowy, very hooky.
Yeah,
I liked it. I like
production ID, like you said. Yeah.
No, he's pivoting. I think Saba's pivoting into a space trying to become not the underground's favorite. I think he wants to be bigger than that. So, but she makes theme music, right? Lekele 47 made several songs that were like the theme music to that Issa Rae show on different seasons.
Insecure.
Yeah, Insecure. She was, and it makes sense. Like these are just enormous songs. It's not the most cohesive album ever, which is why I don't know that it will climb, but it's so unique that it has to be in this position top 20, if that makes sense.
100% agree with that. I think it is the dips in it that didn't put it in my, like, there's a few dips on that. There's a few dips on some of these big albums that have come out. There are a few dips on them. But the highs are so high on that. Yeah, I love it. And I'm with you. I'm really interested to see where she grows into as well as dropping. I think her stuff's worth revisiting every now and again. If you're a stan, then obviously you're always there. But yeah.
Right. Now, Lucky Day, Omar Apollo. Okay, give me a few minutes on how you feel about those albums and how you feel about those people.
I mean, I think I think they're both Omar and Lucky Day. Wasn't Lucky Day, he was nominated for a Grammy, right?
He was last year for an album I didn't even like. That's amazing.
Did he win it? I don't know. He may have even won it. I can't quite remember, but I mean, I think we're starting to see, R&B bubble up a little bit. Well, I should say mainstream R&B bubble up a little bit more.
Sure.
I mean, both of the projects were really, really solid projects. I wouldn't say they were necessarily groundbreaking, but they were really solid R&B projects. And there's nothing like, anytime you come across a good, solid R&B project, like that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, a real good combination of, because I was worried about post Frank Ocean R&B, right? Post Frank Ocean R&B was very lyrical, but it felt like they didn't realize that you still need songs that stick in people's heads.
Yeah.
And they can just hum along to, like, and you're just humming the melody, right?
Yeah.
Like, and both of these albums achieve both of those things, right? NWA with Little Durk, with Candy Drip, and God, I mean, the Omar Apollo has a few with Caliushis and with there's so many great jams on that. And that one was funnier and poppier than I thought. Right? It has a very serious cover, and I put it on. I was like, "Oh shit, this moves!" You know, this isn't a somber affair. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun. I think Frank, he brought that level of, I guess you could say, artistic seriousness. So that, I mean, I think a lot of R&B after that was kind of replicated, and then, you know, kind of with the recognition of SZA as well. You know, that artistic recognition as being a valid piece of art, I think that was kind of in the back of a lot of R&B artists' mind, and so there was a level of seriousness to the work, as opposed to, you know, the funness that R&B used to be kind of associated with.
Right.
Fun and lightness.
So that's we're talking about numbers 20 through number 16, and number 20 is Def C and Boathouse, For All Debts Public and Private, which I really love the Boathouse production. It's very, I don't know, there's a lot of swagger to it. Like, sometimes I feel like, man, Meek Mill could kill this shit.
Yeah, good point, actually. Yeah.
Like, this is like, it's not necessarily like low-key underground, like pop people couldn't deal with this.
No.
It's like, it's got some Maybach music like swagger to it, but it still allows you to bar up. And that's why, like, that Rossi song, Carla Rossi with Armand Hammer, is like, that's like the most swag shit Def C's ever put out.
Yeah. It's interesting what they're doing
with a lot of confidence. Yeah.
They're is it Closed Sessions? Is that on Closed Sessions?
Closed Sessions. Yep.
So that's interesting. They got Kip Stone on there. You know, and Kip has that thing last few albums where he can do the seriousness, but he can drop something that if you're not into underground hip hop and you hear it on you in the deli, you know, getting a sandwich, you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to Shazam that shit. Like, that sounds good. That's how I got into him. I didn't know he was underground. I was like, oh shit, this guy must be up and coming. And then I found his more personal shit, like Home and stuff like that. And I think he's on For All Debts as well as a feature. But that whole album doesn't sound. It sounds like something I'd give to my friend who doesn't like underground hip hop, but he likes commercial. He's like, listen to this album because you get your bars. The bars are ridiculous. The flows are ridiculous, but the production takes it somewhere different. And I love that album, man. Absolutely.
I've described For All Debts Public and Private as a Godzilla album, right?
Okay.
It's one of those albums where the MC is just like, look, none of you people can fuck with me, and I'm gonna go and tell you that, right?
Yeah.
And it's important because Trapdoor was so deep and so dense and so thoughtful and so, you know, well curated over time that this was like, nah, I'm gonna come in here and just go nuts. I'm gonna tear you apart. And that's like Godzilla coming through Tokyo and kicking over the buildings, right? Like that's how Def C approached this album, and it was. I just love those. I love that album. I love that kind of album.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, I'm glad it's in your 20. I'm glad it's in your 20.
Yep. So number 18, I just wanted to say, Mighty Cannons, Ace Cannons, and Mighty Healthy. This album might like move up my list. It's very recently released, and if you grew up on Wu-Tang, it's hard not to love this album.
Yeah, 100%. I got to just commend you for dropping this my way, by the way, because I would have missed this. Absolutely would have missed this. So yeah, big up. Dano has a habit of doing this, but yeah.
Yeah, I am that guy. But I want to take a moment to say, like, people have reached out to me. Some people reach out to me and been like, I feel like you've been instrumental in putting people on to me, and thank you so much. That shit is unbelievable, right? There's no, I'm having more fun than anyone ever because of that, right?
Bro, think of it this way. With everything in life, in streaming, we've got everything. I remember working hard to get 1,000 DVDs. I had 1,000 DVDs, and it took a long fucking time to get that collection, right? You naturally need curators. You naturally do. There's just too much shit. You haven't got enough hours in your life to do it.
Absolutely.
So someone like yourself and someone like UK doing stuff like this, just to branch out a little bit, this is what it's here for, man. Dad Bod as well, same thing.
Absolutely.
It's like, if you can help me curate this massive content, you know, brilliant, let's go. So you feel that natural space that's come along.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I love, what I love about the podcast era is, as I said earlier, the relationships that are, you know, have evolved from it. Like, everyone is listening to everyone, everyone's reaching out to everyone's learning from everyone. So like, it's all kind of like cross-pollination. Like, Dan will put someone onto something. That person in turn will put him on something. And then he'll go put another person on to what the other person put him on to. So it's all like cross-pollination, like it's all, and everyone is learning and everyone is listening to each other, and we're all just getting better just by like talking and interacting with each other.
This is it. I remember when we started our podcast in about 2018, and one of my first chats to my friend who helps me do it, Raymond Ridge, big up, was this thing. I said, do you know what I want to do in this podcast thing, more than just make an impact or whatever? Do you remember, this is from a UK head, so UK heads big up, but you guys probably held your own element of it. But I remember in the noughties, when hip hop became so massive, the UK scene became so close to our hearts. And the only way that UK scene worked is if we all gave a fuck. If we all actually recommended each things. If we said, oh, do you want to go to that gig? Or you should check out Skinny Man. You should check this out, check this out. And I said, what would be nice in the podcast game? Because I didn't have listening to hip hop podcasts. There was no, it was Combat Jack. It was One Ep. It was, that's all good, but there's no link. There's no, where's the community here? Which is what hip hop's built around. And I'm so glad after all these years, we've had a little bit of, like, I've managed to do that amazingly with people like, obviously yourselves, but even like Justin Hunt. I was watching Justin Hunt's hip hop breakdowns, you know, as a fan. And then to have him on, and then on the same side have Dead End Hip Hop, and then you guys, Dano's been featured in our series, and it branches into this, what, 2-3 years later for us. It's just beautiful to see. Sorry to go off on that, but let's just take stock. Let's take stock of that, you know.
It's valuable. And then, I think there's a designation I wanted to make. There's 3-tiered designation, right? Canvas Seamless, right? The first tier, I always break things into threes. That's always my thing. So the 3-tier designation. There's one tier of people, you talked about it, that kind of Juan Epstein level, where it's like they're showcasing friends of theirs, right? Musicians that labels have put them in contact with over the years, who they have good relations with, they're going back to that, right? Then there's people who are like, they'll do that, but they're also into recommendations from people they trust, right? Like, hey, you know what? You told me about this, I'll listen to it, and I'll spotlight it if it's good, right? And live off that. But then there's the third level, and I'm on the third level. I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
I'm active. I'm hunting for people I don't know to love, right? And Scorsese gave me props on that when we talked before he passed, of like, you give people a shot who you've never heard before, and you let them have that chance. Like, and if you're great, I'll just wave the flag for you right off.
Love that, man.
And I'm glad you mentioned Scorsese, because that was the other thing. That was another thing I'm starting to realize also. I think the delineation or the line between artist and, I guess you could say, critic or reviewer is really starting to blur as well. And I think there's like one big ecosystem where, you know, the artist recognizes their role in the ecosystem, and the reviewer recognizes their role in this ecosystem, and they're each trying to help each other, you know, thrive in the system. And it's not, I feel like back in the day, like maybe 10 years ago, it was, you know, the artists, you know, on this side, the artist was made their work, and then they, on the other side was the reviewer or something. And so they would send it out, you know, you guys do what you want to do with it. It was almost like there were two separate entities. But I think now, like, because of, you know, the podcast era, like it's really become intertwined. Like artist and reviewer are really one, like they're all part of one thing. In the way that it wasn't a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, I saw Anthony Fantano interviewing Ghostface Killer.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're a reviewer and you've got to this. So yeah, that's mad.
Yeah. And by the way, a footnote for people, you know, I don't know if you know this, Cam, but Mighty Healthy, who produced Mighty Cannons, he's started making beats in 2019.
Oh, what? Okay.
That's Molotov beat. That Molotov beat is the first beat anyone ever rapped on for him.
No.
Yeah. That's Mighty Healthy is
that's like mad.
Mighty Healthy is a bit of a secret weapon. Give you the high points, right? If you go to grimynobody.com right now, that's his website. He built it himself.
Right.
It's beautiful. It's easy to maneuver. The merch is awesome. The releases come out on time. He always showed up on time or earlier for every interview we've done. One of the easiest people to work with, and an incredibly high output. If you don't know, if you want to be an artist and don't understand the other shit, and you're really good at this, you should reach out to Mighty Healthy.
Wow. Okay.
He made like 40 beats in his life, and they're amazing. Like, it's crazy.
That's crazy. That Gotham beat, that I have it written here. This is what my strain of thought, my just train of thought went. This sounds like Primo in 1994 in the basement, messing around with dark and weird. Remember that dark and weird moment for Primo? You know, the kind of the Giroux stuff he was doing. Yeah. He was getting dark and weird, and somehow they've got that energy, and they've made it sound like an alarm siren that just doesn't turn off. It's like like Gotham is like relentless and just rugged as fuck, man. The whole album is really, but yeah, like I think on FKS, it sounds like to me that they've sampled a 1950s Bollywood film. I'm not even joking. It sounds like that's a 19. And I was like, what has he got this from? I don't know what, but yeah, and just some scary ass fucking beats.
Yeah, no, it's and then so we're getting to the section. There's some stuff on this list. It's gonna move. My list moves every day, right?
Okay,
it's living and breathing. You know.
Yeah.
So we're getting to some albums that could go high or could go low, right? Number 15 is a great example of that. Number 15, Namir Blade, Metropolis. Number 14, Elucid, I Told Bessie. Number 13, Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Number 12, Vince Staples, Ramona Park Broke My Heart. Number 11, Charlie XCX, Crash.
Oh.
Wow.
We're getting these have moved all around. I guess Charlie XCX is the easiest to do, right? Like, so you can make fun of it and say why you have this trash pop on your list, but here's the thing: like, if you've ever read a brilliant children's book, like, I'm a writer, so I remember reading to my kid before they went to bed and going, "That fucking book is brilliant." There's like 30 words in the whole book. It's brilliant. It's fucking believable. I would be so proud of myself if I wrote that. Like, Charlie XCX does that, but with pop music. So none of the stuff is super dense, right? None of it is super personal, but it's so succinct. It's so catchy. It's so vigorously dance music. Baby. I can't stop listening to Crash, man. I love this album. I think there's a real beauty to how pop she is, how good she is in the pop space.
Yeah, I kind of agree with all that. It's brilliantly put, though. I didn't think of it in the simplicity is the beauty, isn't it? I suppose with Charlie XCX. But yeah, music. I'll be honest, I don't go back too much. That space for me has been occupied by Weekend this year. I don't know what it is,
That's
but
fair.
it's that
No,
that
that's
that
fair.
I don't have much of that space in my life. I suppose maybe to occupy that pop thing maybe a bit more. Maybe I should, but there's just too much underground hip hop to keep filling it up. So but yeah, no. That's a really good album, and I kind of don't want to keep playing it because it might get more and more catchy, which then you're like, oh fuck, now,
Yeah. No,
so,
she'll do it to you. She'll do it to you. I mean, and honestly, Charlie XCX and Weekend Dawn FM is a great example. Like, these are albums that make it hard for me to give a fuck about Drake's dance.
Oh yeah,
right. Like, it's not. I don't have any issue. Like, I'm not hating on this dude. Like it, but don't pretend like this is the king of dance albums. Like, come on.
No. It follows a long train of dance R&B. There's, there's a history to that thing. Do you know what I mean?
XCX is on another level. So I'm not. I don't say that. There's Namir Blade, Metropolis, another wild declaration. Ready for this?
Let's go.
This is the most fun album in the history of mellow music.
Oh.
Just in terms of putting an album on and enjoying the fun of it, Metropolis is undefeated. There's something, I mean, by the way, Regions, we didn't talk about Regions, which made a huge comeback, right? Chicago is killing it. Tennessee is killing it, right? There's so much great art coming out of Tennessee, and there's a real Tennessee bounce to this album. To Metropolis, big hooks, right? Satisfying, fun, crazy lines that come out of nowhere. I'm gonna, who is it? They say they call me underground. They don't know I'll turn this yoga class into a mosh pit.
That's a good line, mate. Anytime your lines are your hooks have got Kevin Feige or Alopecia. Alopecia in there. He's driving his Honda Civic around his city, which was my life 13 years ago. That's what I was doing. I was driving my Honda Civic around the city. And one of the things is, you kind of get the whole mellow thing. I do. I need to really look at it, but I can kind of see what you're saying. Absolutely. Yeah. But the idea, the beat switches are like, I love a beat switch. Like most heads love a beat switch. But they really, I should really make a playlist of my favorite beat switches. But that album's got loads of them on there, and not all. I think Cain and Abel might be a bit like where it gets a little bit heavier, but it hits harder because this album's been fun. And like Ride is like one of the best bangers of the year, and it's that vibe you want. And then bang, you got Cain and Abel. He drops it somewhere else, so keeps you kind of guessing. And Ride is just, on Ride, there's that end bit, that little outro, which is just beautiful. That little beautiful. Yeah,
he produced all of it. He produced the whole album.
No way.
I think so.
Damn. Because his last one was with La Orange, right?
He did the album with La Orange. Yep. And honestly, I like this one better. I mean, I love La Orange. I just think what they tend to do, what Mello tends to do, is to be like, all right, we got a new one. You got to work with this person, La Orange. And this, it didn't naturally sync up, I think. This one, I love the cover. All songs produced and mixed by Namir Blade.
Damn.
Fucking unbelievable. This is like one of those crazy talents, Yeah. Like when you see someone in their first or second year being like, damn, I can't believe we skipped that person in the draft,
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is Namir's kind of the future for them. They can't keep, it's not going to be, Crooked Eye and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I'm excited for it. And what else we got? Oh, Elucid. Let's say talk. I Told Bessie. Elucid has a curated title playlist that is immaculate. Put it out. And if you listen to this playlist and you think about I Told Bessie, a lot of things come to light where the influences for this. It's really interesting.
Right.
It's, to me, so and I get weird because like people are doing posts that are like, man, Aethiopes, I Told Bessie, y'all did it again. I'm like, those are two entirely different albums for me.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Entirely different albums. And to me, I Told Bessie, which could very much climb higher than 14, it's his Gil Scott-Heron.
Oh, that's interesting.
In what sense?
There's like a painful blues jazz thing to it. Gil Scott-Heron had this series of albums with Brian Jackson, who was a jazz pianist, and they made beautiful songs like The Bottle and all this stuff.
Love The Bottle.
There's like a real there's like a painful whining loss to some of these songs. Like the one I think about is Sardonyx. Sardonyx is built around this kind of whining, decomposing sound that's really unbelievable, and it's enthralling, and I love it. Elucid's my favorite chanter in all of rap.
He's got a great chant.
Sure.
Chants his ass off, and like Billy Woods with these guest verses, unfucking evil.
Yeah.
And
what would you say is the difference between a Arm & Hammer song and like an Elucid song featuring Billy Woods? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference, I think. There's a deference, right? Like Woods doesn't want to outshine Elucid at all. He wants to show and put his best foot forward on the track, but he wants you to love Elucid. He wants the focus to be you.
I can see that.
I think Billy Woods cares about Elucid's career.
But also, there are two MCs that I feel like I can kind of see them pushing, especially after hearing their interviews. I think they'd like to push each other. So I can imagine he did definitely think that, but I also I think he knows the balance between. Mind you, does he? I don't know. Maybe who really knows what Woods is thinking, But yeah, no. I always find it hard talking about these two and trying to judge anything they do because they're so beyond my pay grade almost. That's hard. No, that's not the right word. But you know what I mean? Like I haven't got the language to explain this, especially I Told Bessie. I feel with Aethiopes, I've sat with it longer though as well, and I've had that time for that shit to the African history and shit to soak in, and you'd be like, fucking sugar molasses rum just being like the thing that echoes in your head all year kind of thing. But yeah, no, Elucid is just, I don't know, man, the way that man performs live as well. Saw him live this year. It's just like, yeah, he's an unreal performer. But they all are. Yeah, no, such a good album. I can expect it to be in my top 10, I reckon, by the end of the year, maybe.
And I think there's a distance. There's an interesting distance between the two of them that will always be there. This is just how I see the progression of their lives, right? And I might be wrong. If you listen to Half Measures from 2013, if you listen to Race Music from 2013, it's pretty clear that Elucid's farther along as an artist than Woods in growth and development. So you can go back and listen to Elucid from 2008, from 2007, it was jamming, fully formed badass. And I think some of those early Armand Hammer albums, Elucid is the #1 guy, and Woods grows into what he is. But for Woods, you never lose the love, respect, and reverence for the person that helped you grow to where you are.
Yeah.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah, it does. I've not thought of it that way, but it does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. This is how I see that progression. I don't know if that's real or imagined, but you know, it's not insulting either way. So it's
Yeah.
yeah. Kendrick Lamar's album, you know what? I don't like the album. It's here, it's at number 13 because he's great, but I don't like the album. And if you want to know why, go to Crate 808, listened to the breakdown with Fly Fidelity, right?
Luke Bailey, yeah.
Luke and with Cinema Sai. Cinema Sai pretty much espouses my issues with this album.
Yeah, no, absolutely nailed it. He did.
100%. Yeah.
I and completely warranted. Absolutely. Yeah. I've had time to sit with it, and amazingly, the Silent Hill track with Kodak on it that I just couldn't get round. It's one of my favorite track now on the album. Yep. And I feel like that says a lot about my own way of dealing with this shit. And, you know, where have I got the fortitude and like mental aptitude to keep that up? If the music is genuinely making me feel like he's trying more than just the Kodak Black issue, the Auntie Diaries issue. This is an album of issues. This is an album of talking points, and you know, almost boldenly said, like, you know, he's going for that. That's exactly what he's shooting for. But on the same time, you've got Father Time, you've got Mother I Sober, you've got N95, you've got Mr. Morale, you've got these other double album. I feel like if you look at the actual work as a whole, I completely understand why it is messy, and is that an excuse to say, oh yeah, but it's messy, but it's great. But or is it just complicated and it's a bit harder to just delineate that art? Like maybe it's not for me. Maybe you using that slur over and over again, I find it obscene in my world. Right. Is Kendrick Lamar making this album for my world, even though he's a pop star, or is he making it for a kid who's in his world, who uses the F word all the time? This is the kind of complications he's brought up with this whole album, and I kind of feel like it's good to deal with those instead of just. I thought that was a great breakdown from Dylan because we didn't always agree, but I also felt like absolutely we understood each other's point. And I find in today's last few years, there's a lack of that, of just we don't agree, but we're just not going to be on, you know, throwing fireballs at each other. We just want to actually let's communicate a little bit. And yeah, maybe this album is something for that. I don't know if there's a catalyst of that in this album, but yeah.
Yeah, I have a recommendation because I've run into a lot of people who have said, "Look, I listened to it, it's really good, but I'm never going to listen to it again."
Oh, interesting.
Right, I've run into a lot of those people, and I understand the proclivity. But here's my recommendation. Here's what got me back into the album. The reason it climbed to 13. Right. I started playlisting.
Yeah.
I started throwing songs back into whatever playlist I was playing at that time. You know what? Throw this in next, right? You know, throw in the song with Sampa. He's great. I love that song. So throw that in next. You know, oh, the song with Ghostface, the Summer Walk, throw that in. And you start to realize, man, there's a bunch of really good joints on here, right? Yeah. If you separate it from the narrative.
Exactly.
And you just listen to those joints, you're like, there's a lot of good stuff on this album.
Not any of it as good as Part 5, though, for me.
I thought that was brilliant.
I thought Heart Part 5 was almost like, you've outdone it. He tends to do this anyway. I love his Heart Part 4, 3, all that. But yeah, just that was the video. That's going to stay with me for a long time. That, you know, so.
Yeah, you nailed that on your Crate 808 mid-year, which was like this album doesn't surpass Heart Part 5. It languishes below Heart Part 5, which means it doesn't deliver what it told you it was going to deliver, right? So ultimately, that's why I don't think this album can grow with me. I don't think it's going to go that much higher because it's not going to ever give me what I want.
Yeah.
But Vince Staples did. And I don't know how to deal with this. I hate Vince Staples as an artist. I love him as an interviewer. I love him as a comedic talent. I'd love for him to come on here and roast me, you know? Great dude. But like, I've always hated his music, basically. And you got to think of it within context. When he broke, I was like, best gangster rapper in the world is either J-Rock or Freddie Gibbs, and leave me alone. Right? I wasn't interested in Vince's brand of hardcore West Coast stuff. Right? But Ramona Park broke my heart. And shout out to Zilla Rocca. He hit me up and was like, I'm in Oakland. I'm listening to, the Buddy Super Ghetto album and Ramona Park, and you gotta listen to shit. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And it's beautiful. It's big, sexy hooks, magic, right? DJ Quick. But I was telling Brian Ennals this before we logged on. I was like, it has some of the most horrifying shit of the year.
Yeah.
Remember, there's this line where he goes like, hit him in his back. Oh, he's still moving? Hit him in his hat.
Jeez.
Murder.
Yeah.
Like, it's about the PTSD of gang member mentality, right? And like getting yourself, like, how much of that do you ever share, right? Those instincts. And it's a beautiful rumination on that. Kay, have you heard the Ramona Park?
I have not listened to it, but you're the third person who's told me about it, and I have a friend in a group chat who's been raving about this album since it came out, and I think it's resonated with. I think this Vince Staples album has resonated with a lot of people in ways that his past work hasn't.
Yep, 100%. The comp for me, Cam, hear me out on this comp.
Right.
Is YG My Crazy Life.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I think he shot for a lot of different artistic choices in his past, and I've always loved that. I've kind of always enjoyed where he's just shot like Summertime 06 and stuff like that. And he's occupied that kind of party space with dark lyrics like it is.
Right.
But I hear When Sparks Fly and I'm like, what? This is one of the best R&B songs of the year. But yeah, and Paper Cuts, it's another hook that he's big paper cuts, slides, another one. So yeah, I think the only thing with the album is there are dips and there are moments where I'm thinking he's definitely not phoning it in, but there are moments when he's like, this isn't complicated. This maybe it should be, but this is just a relationship song. There's nothing more to this than maybe what I would expect, like a turn of lyric, like you just said there, going from humor to dark shit. There isn't on some of these, and it feels a little bit more like steady rolling, which is fine. But that's why the album didn't get in my 5 for the year at the moment. But the highs are just incredible. Like they are it's a great album for playlisting.
No, it's just there's a resonance to the pop stuff that's in this album. Songs you can listen to over and over and over again, and so it's one of those albums I find myself making sure that I'm not listening to because it'll take over my life if I away from me. So, and speaking of that, we're doing the rate. So we're in the top 10 now, right? So number 10, Andrew, The Rain Knows What It's Doing. I think we could maybe hit these one at a time and keep moving. But The Rain Knows What It's Doing is my most played album on Bandcamp. I organize it by most played. It's the most played. It's exactly my wheelhouse. Big soul production, warm kind of Daptones-ish production. but with like punchlines everywhere. Just an avalanche of punchlines, big hooks. It's just very, very listenable. And I just love that. I mean, Andrew's another one who discovered producing during COVID.
Wow.
The first album he produced was hit last year, Pop 1967.
Damn.
Yeah, he's a real talented guy. Just one of those guys that, you know, if he picks up something, he'll figure it out within a very short time.
Wow. Okay. I never heard of him. Never till you put this on there. So
it's beautiful, and so it's my wheelhouse, right? This is like big, soulful, earnestly soulful beats that are warm and beautiful, but also funny, crazy references, and just different tempos. Tough Enough for Love. It just these are things like when it comes on, when the first song comes on, my son starts going da da da. Like he knows it, but still, there's some real amazing shit on here. Gold Chain Spaceships is a very personal song about, the death of his father that is beautiful. So this is an album with a real personality to it. That it'll rank higher than a lot of sophisticated albums because it is so honestly itself, and maximizes what it wants to do.
Okay.
Number 9. It's Almost Dry. Pusha T. I didn't know it was going to get. I really didn't. I had no idea that this album was going to rank this high because I was ready to be disappointed when it came out. Right? Diet Coke was not a single I loved.
Oh, I love Diet Coke.
Weird single. This is a weird album. This whole like half Kanye, half Neptunes. Kanye and the Neptunes are in very different places in their production lives right now. Couldn't be mixed. But I'll tell you, I think I like this as much as the last album.
Daytona.
Yes.
Ooh. I was saying I think it doesn't have the replay value of Daytona for me.
Right.
But again, it's only just come out. But it definitely has bangers. It fills the bangers quota. Let the Smokers Shine, Brambleton. Ooh. I love Diet Coke.
Dreams of the Past.
Dream of the Past. Dream of the Past. Yeah, but even the Malice feature as well. Got Whet's the Appetite for any clip stuff coming out. I can see why this album is so high. I know people have got it in their 5 of the year at the moment. Coke rap done by the best person who can do Coke rap, I'd have thought. I mean, no, shade on Conway, but Conway's not just Coke rap. Whereas Pusha is beef and Coke rap.
Straight up. Brambleton. Oh my god. But yes, it's like I think Daytona is a little overestimated.
Oh,
and this album's a little underestimated, just in the sense that part of why we love Daytona is because it was part of this incredible narrative, right? About Drake and the secret child and all this stuff. True. Right? We have that, but in reality, Daytona is 7 songs, and it's kind of not enough of an album for me. Yeah. And this is the 7-song Summer, I think, was an experiment that taught everyone that you should do 9 songs. But it's this album is what, 13? Is it 13 tracks?
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit less.
12 tracks. 12
tracks, and it is so it's a real. It feels like a real album, and. If you asked me what's the worst moment on this album, it's Kid Cudi on Rock and Roll.
I'd agree.
But that's not that bad.
I was going to say it's not that bad though. Like really, yeah.
The problems with this album just aren't that much of a problem. It's a really good album,
Yeah,
And
good way
whether or
of
not
putting
you
it.
like Daytona better than that, that's all fine. But
Mm.
this is another great Pusha T album.
Yeah, definitely.
We're
Definitely.
going to start talking about him as an all-timer, just in terms of the reliability, the consistency of the curation, right?
As an MC, he already is. I think as an MC, I think you can have that conversation about him being one of the GOATs. If we're looking at catalogue, yeah, I'd have to sit down with that. I think Numbers on the Board's one of the best songs of all time, though. So anytime I've got Numbers on the Boards on there, you're already thinking, shit, yeah, man. Yeah. But yeah, no, good. I like that. It's almost right.
Yeah. No, he's I love it. He's a specialist with this stuff. Number 8, Teller Banks, Skullface 357. 357 is my favorite because it is full on like, what if Lil Wayne came up through the underground?
Mm-hmm.
What would it sound like? This is what it would sound like. It's like there's some real wild, Tom Bout is one of my favorite things. The Teller, and the whole Skullface experience. I don't know if you know this. He produced every one of those albums.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's nuts. He is like, he's actually secretly an incredible producer, but he only produces his own work. So, and the St. Christopher freestyle lyrical moment, but then Panther strip joint. It's Teller Banks bridges all these different divides, right? There's no scaring the hose element to this, right? There's no. This is music women can enjoy. This is music that you can enjoy if you love lyricism. I just think Teller's stock is good, and you should buy it now.
Okay.
Now, Coffee Gifted. I love this album.
Wow.
But Kay's a little worried about this. He thinks it was a little too put together, a little too clean for a reggae album. You still there, Kay?
Yeah, I'm still here. I think, like, I'm starting to realize, like, I think our music-wise, like, as a critic, a reviewer, we become so obsessed with perfection.
Yep.
And not as obsessed with expression. So sometimes, expression can be sloppy, but it's genuine, it's true. And I think that this album, like, it was very intentional. She had a message that she was trying to communicate, but I don't know that message didn't ring genuine. Like, I don't feel like that's the real Coffee.
Interesting.
So
it's a
I
little
would have
too
just
perfect.
hoped
It's
that,
a little too shiny. It's a little, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think she's like 19, 20. I would have just hoped to have a more well-rounded representation of a 19 or 20-year-old Coffee.
Coffee is 22.
22, yes.
Yep. So yes, very young. And this is a very kind of mature album from an ideological standpoint, right?
Yeah.
It is not, there's no like Summer Walker messiness to it, right? It is it is tight and it is poppy, and it has a very specific, take advantage of your life now kind of message to it, which feels like world worn and in a way that doesn't make sense for a 22-year-old. So I think that's Kay's holdback here.
Like, I think of when did Snoop Dogg Doggy Style? How old was he when that came out?
Ooh, he was 19, I think.
That's
he was definitely 19 on Chronic.
19. Oh wow, so maybe sure. 19, 20. That's what I would expect a 20-year-old album, a 20 to 21-year-old album to sound like.
Right. There's laughter, there's goofiness, there's like, a little recklessness to it. Right.
Yes.
Whereas this seems very curated by a record company. I do get that, absolutely.
Very polished.
Yeah, I think it's not lazy, but it does have me slightly conflicted when I think sometimes 10, I'm hearing Redemption Song. And it's such a big song for people. And as soon as you hear the first chords, you're like, whoa. My first fear was, please don't chop up this as a sample. She didn't, and it was great. That's fine that she didn't. It got made into its own song. But there was straight away I was thinking, I don't know what made her think to go there. But I know, obviously, you know, same place and all that. But it just seems such an easy option. But it works. It's kind of a song I listen to now. Gifted is fucking great banger for the summer. And Pull Up reminds me of that noughties, like kind of Wayne Wonder vibe, and you know, the horns on it. Like the horns are almost corny or cheesy at one point, but they just teeter on it, but they don't. And it's kind of a nice tension that gives you. It's not like, you know, Wham. You know, it's not like, oh, don't You know, it's not going Wham, but it's not, you know, but it's great. It's a great song, Pull Up. I love that song.
No, but I mean, and West Indies is the jam for me. I love that song. I love the videos for these. I mean, I love the polish of the album, right? To me, it is kind of like this beautifully sanded down mineral thing. You know, it's really, really cool. And that's what makes it unique. And that's what makes that perspective unique, right? Some people are freakishly organized and mature beyond their years.
That's fair. That's true.
How young, right?
Yeah,
so,
true,
so maybe she's one of those people. Maybe this was done by a team. Who knows? But I like it. I really enjoy it as like a clean, like this is like NPR reggae.
NPR reggae. It is. It is NPR reggae. Yeah.
You could put this shit on with your grandma in there. The grandma would be cool. Like everybody'd be cool.
NPR reggae. Perfect.
But I love it. So it is what it is. Number 6, we're at AJ Suede. Metatron's Cube.
Oh, yeah.
It still sounds amazing. It still sounds. I love 100 Year Darkness with Small Professor, but this album feels different. Televangel, those beats are different.
Yeah.
And Suede is has one of the best flows in rap right now.
Yeah, the guy's a technician.
I saw people shitting on it, you know, seeing people shitting on his flow, and I don't get it. I do not get it. I find it's like very crafted. He's took time, you know. It's not like just putting things together, and it works. That album.
I have a fun take for you, Cam. They're like the people that are like the old timey purists. Flow purists, the hip hop purists, they are like overbearing Pixar parents.
Yeah.
They're like the mother from Turning Red, you know?
Yeah, or the bow. Yeah, that short with the bow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Encanto, pick one, right? All these overbearing Pixar parents. That's who the hip hop purists are. They're just like, oh my God, you can't do it like this. That's not even rapping. They go fine, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Suede is a marvel to listen to. The production. What do you love this album, Cam? And if you do, how would you describe the production on this?
This is in my 5 of the year. It's one of my favorite albums of the year. It was number 1 for a long time. Might still be number 1 by the end. Cities of Eve, Man Plays the Horn is up there though. It's incredible, that album. But no, I can't believe that Underground can give me something new. Like you guys said, like every week you're getting it. I was happy with this at the beginning of the year. I did not know who AJ Suede was. I didn't really know who Televangel was. I didn't know who Fake Forward, that imprint, or anything like that. And then I've been introduced to this whole world. They seem like such nice people as well on top of it. And I'm learning that Hemlock Ernst is from Future Islands at the same time and all this. So I kind of have a lot of things invested in just this album coming out when it did. The artwork is sick. Like the vinyl is on the way. I had to go get that as well, cop that. And I just think the production, it's incredible because it doesn't stop shapeshifting. It always shapeshifts throughout. There isn't one moment of, oh, he took his foot off the gas there a little bit. Oh, he's coasting on that one there a little bit. It feels like AJ's in his pocket at the same time. Televangel is doing this thing where it's so lush, but it's weird, odd. It's like hard and soul. It's got hardness and soul at the same time. Like Ruby's, Vox Machina, Wake the Wind, and 3 hours late. They've got concept tracks like 3 hours late on there. They've got what is one of my favorite verses. My favorite verse of the year so far is Conway on God Don't Make Mistakes. And what my favorite feature might be his mum on that same track. She's amazing. But I have to say, my favorite verse and feature may be Mr. Motherfucking Esquire on Respect the Architect.
The Architect. He,
at one point, if you haven't heard this album, go listen to it anyway. But if you just want to hear an MC who takes you on the track of, I'm going to just take you on the usual railway track. We know where we're going. This is my verse. By the way, I'm now leaving this railway track. I'm going to forget about rhyming, and all I'm going to concentrate on is people who give a shit about Spotify listens. And he talks about, I don't give a shit who's on your Spotify Wrapped. I will come around your house to give your computer a virus, and I will like fuck your sister and all this shit. And you're like, what the fuck? Like that moment is one of my favorite moments of hip hop this year.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It goes off. Just goes off.
Yeah, Terror is wonderful. I love the shape-shifting idea, and I think it made me think because we talked about the characteristics of these great albums of the year, right? Mm-hmm. And it was about flow, delivery, production, identity. But when you get to the top 10, what separates the top 10 is the overall listening experience, right? Mm-hmm. The listening experience here is bulletproof, right? It's 5 by 10 as an ender is wonderful.
Yeah.
Wake the Wind as at the beginning, right? 3 hours late. I wouldn't change that for the world. That's got to be number 10, right?
Yeah.
Like sequencing, the guests, Hemlock Ernst being such a part of this as a voice, Prem Rock being smack in the middle. These all of this creates a listening experience that is superior to so many albums. And I think that's what we're talking about, right? And that's when we get to the top 5, that's something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 5, like I said, I don't know anyone who's got my number 5 in their top 5. I really don't. This is my most conventional list in years. I feel guilty about it. There's like
I can't
established names on there, right? But I didn't get in this to just talk about people no one knows about. I didn't get in this to talk about people everybody knows about. I just wanted to throw it all in one pot. So it's all in one pot. But Ivy Soul, Candid, is, to me, at number 5, it's the best mixture of R&B and rap of the year. When you're talking about being able to sing at a high level and make these kind of R&B songs, Nights Like This with Topaz Jones, and then to be able to go nuts and rap, it's awesome. This is the best mixture. If you are an artist and you want to balance those talents, this is a really good album to start with.
100%. Absolutely.
I agree. 100%.
If you look at, like, numbers, is the 6 to 7 is what I think about, right? So because you go from One More Night with Topaz Jones, that's the Topaz Jones one. Then you go Bamboo is number 6, which is, like, to me, one of the catchiest pop songs of this year for me. And then Chico is just nasty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you talk that talk. Like, it is beautiful. Like, there's so many cool switches in, you never know where this album's going to go, but it's also unified by discussions of relationships. Nobody gets murdered on this album. It's about relationships. It's awesome.
Devastating at times. There's moments of real devastation on it as well. Man, is it on Dangerous where she says seeking redemption in the haze of your glimmer? That whole moment where she says talks about and rhymes it with sinner or something. That moment was big. My ears need to be retuned hearing this because I couldn't. Ballads and rap shouldn't work as well as this, and they did. And pardon me. I'm so glad you brought it to this because I would never have really looked for Ivy Soul, and I gather she's got a lot of like love and critical like reviews and stuff like that. So it seems like she's on her way to something even bigger and bolder. So maybe this moment in her career where she's like making stuff like Other Side, which sounds like Little Sims, but that's more the feel of the production more than her, like her artistry, more the production. But like when you're doing stuff, this is a moment that really just hit home for me. Easy to Kill. Easy to Kill, right?
Incredible.
The beginning of that song.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the beginning of that song. It starts off like something that if you ever listen to Arca or maybe even Arca's like a ridiculous electronic producer that does weird shit. Clipping, it made me think of Clipping a little bit. I was like, why is that? That's such a weird intro to this song. And then bang, the production choices are just really interesting throughout it. And her enunciation is incredible, by the way, especially on that song. Yeah. So, I'm with you, man. And Call Me as well. That's another one that I loved.
I'm so excited that you enjoyed it. Because, I was repping this from day one when it came out on Bandcamp day, and I loved it and still love it. Lord Queso is at 4. More Chores. This album didn't start in my top 5, but it just kept climbing the more I listened to it.
Yeah,
it just kept climbing. As we talked about with Queso, the contrasting sounds and song ideas, after you listen to it a bunch, they adhere to each other. They make sense. Together. The vignettes connect in a really beautiful way.
It is an album of vignettes. It really is. And easy to brush over them and forget unless you're really paying attention at times, I find like the more I pay attention to this, well, like any album, the more I pay attention, I get more out of it. But this is one of the albums which it is like, oh, fuck, the way you've mixed PS4 box to that, or Uncle, is it Uncle Mark? Is it Uncle Mark? That's the track. I love that. The way he wilds out into some kind of like West Indian music at one point as well. So
Baba Roots.
Yeah, Baba Roots. You've got Slim Popper on there, like straight away as a 90s head, that title track I'm gonna kind of want to be in. So yeah, no, I love this album, More Choice. It's on my honorable mentions. It didn't get in my 5, but it is very much just another one of the discoveries where is it Hodge or the producers?
Well, Hajino is the one who really deserves a lot. Krista Castro is another one who does great work on this with Glitz, and just a lot of good business beyond belief. But Hajino's beats, especially on this, are they're very beautiful, and they're very, like we talked about with Boathouse. It's very glossy. Nothing, indie doesn't have to sound indie. What is it? Zilla Rocca, shout out to you. He has an expression where he says, sounds like shit is not an aesthetic.
Big up Zilla Rocca, I love that.
And this album sounds gorgeous, right? More Chores sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's you can hold it up against anything else, and it sounds as good. That's shout out to Hajino, Krista Castro, and everyone that worked on it with that. But yeah, I'm happy to hear you say it. There's a lot of albums doing vignettes now, doing short minute 12, minute 23 kind of things. But it's less time, right? It's less stuff to write, but it puts more pressure on the minute and 12. Better not waste my fucking time.
Yeah. Yeah. easier to skip a minute 12 than it is to skip. I don't know. For me, it's just kind of like this better. It's like a punk song, a good punk song. Bang! If it only needs a minute sometimes. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you. Interesting what he does next, man. Definitely, just to see, you know, is he going to stick with the same production team? Is he? I don't know. It's gonna be a good journey, I feel.
This one actually, like, even though the songs are short, you talked about Baba Roots. Baba Roots is 1 minute and 49 seconds and is a full song to me, right? It doesn't feel like part of a song.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Murderation, same way, 1 minute and 29 seconds. Like, these feel fully realized. Like, we kind of talked about that, Kay, where, like, did you realize your idea, right? You know, Mighty Healthy, when I asked him what's the difference between an EP and an album, and he said, did you make your point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Did you fully make your point? Did you make your statement? Because if you did, then it's an album.
That's a good, wow. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. I get to talk to amazing people all the time, so I get to have it sound cool. But so, number 3, Death Fame, Kelly Chris. This is the best. I don't know. I sometimes think this is the best put together album of the year. In terms of the way it flows, the way it seeks. I should have sent you this. I did this write up about how there's 2 songs on Death Fame that are just linked to me.
Okay.
That, like, are the spine of the album. Like, the whole album to me revolves around the distance between alive ain't always living and how could you love something like me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's polarity, right? That's the polarity in mood. I am one of the best. You should love your life versus, like, the misery of just trying to find your self-confidence again. This is like damn near a perfect album in terms of the way songs go into each other, guest features, all that last song with Cavalier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The title song is unbelievable. It's one of the songs of the year. Like, you know, made me think, it's not the same song, but it made me think, oh, I loved Stone Fruit last year. Where's my Stone Fruit this year? And Death Fame isn't Stone Fruit, but I don't know, it kind of hit me hard like Stone Fruit did. It's pertinent, very pertinent. You know, people dying, why are you not giving them love at this time? But not just that, it goes into the complexity of that issue, you know, an artist passing away and what is fame and death. Oh, yeah. Just what an artist.
Great piece of work. Absolutely.
Songs, you know, when you get an album that's in the top 5, those are albums that keep surprising you with new favorite songs all the time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And
so, I love that.
That's like, you know, Death Fame, like the one I'm really just nuts for now is So Tired You Can't Stop Dreaming with Navy Blue. That's a collaboration that feel like, he was on Dad Bod, Kelly was, and he said that, like, him and Navy Blue have talked for hours on the phone, like crying with each other and talking about shit. And I was like, this song sounds like that. Right? It really sounds like that affection is real. I love it. I think it's masterful. The biggest, so number 2, Aethiopes, Preservation, Billy Woods. The biggest misconception about this album, and I have to brag about SK. I love the way we come. Love the way we come when it dropped, right? Because when it dropped, everyone was like, Billy Woods, another great Billy Woods album, Billy Woods. I was like, this is not a Billy Woods album. This is a Billy Woods Preservation album.
Yeah, the production.
And this is a meeting between those 2 gigantic forces. That's why it's so unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's not just because of Billy Woods, who is amazing, but it's Preservation, who no one in the world sounds like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Think about what he did on this album. Like, it's my album of the year. It is just, it's easy to go into the Woods thing. because the Woods thing's on top of everything, and it's very pointed at times, and it's humorous, and it has all that. But it's another level to think about. You've given Woods, or he must have been licking his lips when he saw when he heard the beats. Like, all these beats are just ridiculous, man. I just can't think of anything. Asylum, Smith and Cross, Remorseless, one of the saddest songs I've heard since, I think, Sins of My Father by Carl. That's one of the saddest songs I've heard. And Wolves, 9X, all these songs, Heavy Water, Harlem. Amazing. That track, at first I was like, what is going? I'm not ready for this one. I'm not. Because the rest of the album's so good. And then you start gravitating towards Harlem and don't let go. That's what Preservation does. And do not sleep on the fact the features. Can't think of many whack ones on this album. Like,
oh my God, no,
it's
about Woods that isn't talked about enough. Yes, Woods is an amazing lyricist, but Woods is a fucking mastermind. Woods is Lex Luthor of putting together his fucking schemes. Like this, to put Fatboy Sharif on Harlem.
Yeah.
Oh man,
but it's perfect. Yeah.
And then to stash that like fucking, you know, LP, you know, the LP collab track.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, mate, he's bringing Despot as well. That's another one where I was like, Despot's on here and here.
No one's like in line charging after Despot, but like he knows, right? And so he knows. Put Breeze Brewing with LP and me, and that shit is unbelievable, right? Like, there's people Woods knows are dope that other people don't know are dope. Like, my favorite Posse track on this album is Sauvage. The mixture of vocal tones is so beautiful. To have Boldy and then Woods, to go from Boldy to Woods is a hell of a thing. And then to go to Gabe, Gabe Nanez. I mean, that combination is unbelievable. I recently loaded this to the car, Kay. Like, I can't get in the car a lot because I got my kid in there, and then people are just cannibal shit going on. Like, I can't always listen to Aethiopes in the car. My wife's like, why? Lots of weird shit in the car. I'm like, you want him to hear Remorseless?
Yeah, like, come on.
So, but it's not always in the car. So the kid leaves the car. I put on Wharves.
Oof.
And my face was like I had eaten exotic, powerful cheese, right? I was just like, this fucking beat is unbelievable.
You became the multiverse Benzino. You became.
I did. I can't say enough about this album because the difference is that I told Bessie versus Aethiopes, right? I told Bessie is a Gil Scott Heron album that you discover and that it's fucks your head up and you tell people about it and they don't even believe it. Aethiopes is a big fucking blockbuster album that has people arguing in the streets.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different.
Yeah.
It's a big album.
It's a big themes. I think thematically, you're going with a Rembrandt painting. That's already you're setting the level there. And you're not doing Rembrandt like West Side Gun's doing like classic art. You're doing Rembrandt close up, linked to the Aethiopes message as well on top of that. And then throughout, and we all know this, but if people don't know, Billy Woods is one of the best persons to do transitions. And the people he works with, the way his transitions work from Congi's Harvest, and I'm a bit of a cinephile. I've never heard of that film. And after hearing these moments, I was like, okay, that's on my list straight away. 1970s Nigerian film that Billy Woods obviously has taken time to license. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely going to be, and this is the same things he's done in the past, but the fact he can deliver on those moments still. And yeah, like I said earlier, man, Sugar Molasses, it's just haunting, scary. I fear for things when I hear that song. Like, shit, I hope we don't go. I know today's been a big day for America and fucking regression generally, you know, with the abortion laws and stuff. But it makes you start thinking like, shit, it's not been that long since Sugar Molasses Rum was running the slave trade, and it's kind of worrying that this music is here. That's also happening in politics, and I'm just hoping we don't regress towards any of that. But yeah, I don't know if it's me thinking, but that's just my personal point of view.
No, it's an album that takes you into all kinds of different places.
Yeah, it's funny as fuck. So funny as well.
So funny, but the thing I admire most about it is, and no one else has these albums connected, but ATTENDEES is incredibly connected in my mind to Lady Ray's Piece of Me. Because Lady Ray, the Piece of Me is the most emotional album of the year, right? It's the most emotional album. It is unbelievable in terms of the sincerity of the message, right? This is like Reasonable Doubt intensity. I don't know if I'll make this again. You need to know this. Melody with her daughter on it, right? Kenneth Ray Sr. on Beauty and the Fire. Like, it's an album that is a grizzled veteran pouring out their heart, right? And in a way, ATTENDEES is too.
Yeah.
ATTENDEES has so much fucking heart. There's so much that, as you said, the reason Remorseless is so sad, right? There's a freedom in like knowing that you're letting it go, right? Whatever, I can't remember the exactness of the line. It's because it's so emotional. Billy Woods is so vividly emotional while being this historian, while being hilarious, while being a master curator. And there's a connection between those two albums because of how sincerely emotional they both are, I guess.
There's just no Under the Sun on ATTENDEES.
Right.
They just know that Under the Sun is, oh my God, it's summertime. We're out of the house. Do you know what I mean? We've been vaccinated. Let's live life. You know, the moment where it's like Soul to Soul's back to life, back to reality. Right. That has been a song after COVID, and Back to Life has been a big family anthem. Under the Sun is like, oh, we're here now. We're here now. Let's live our life. And Lady Ray, man, Jesus, Piece of Me. Big up, Dan, man. I'd missed this. I did not even know it was Nicole Ray until like 2 weeks after listening to the album. It's like, this sounds like Mary. He's got the Mary vibes. It's just like, it's not Nicole Ray, is it? Because the way she spelled Ray, it's Nicole fucking Ray.
It is.
Like, oh shit! And just my wife hates you, by the way, now, because all I do is play this album, and she's like, "You've got to stop playing this." I was like, "Do you know this is Nicole Ray?"
I'm going through the same thing. But yes, Lady Ray also. I mean, I really got into the Lady Ray Nicole. I really fully jumped in. Was it 2017?
Yeah, she got a new album back then. Yeah,
Queen Alone. Queen Alone was the name of the album. 2016, actually. So, and I bumped that shit hard. And so this album came up for pre-order like end of last year. I've had this pre-ordered since the end of last year. And she put up so many singles. I was like, this is my shit. I'm gonna prep this shit hard. I can't wait for it. Games People Play is unbelievable,
bro.
So gripping and sad. It ends with Storms, right? It ends with Storms. This is an album that has a grown-up's maturity, dignity, and like retrospect, I guess.
Yes.
But it can't be easily broken. That's what I found about her. Maybe it's because I know she has a history in the industry. She has a whole other chapter as a teenager. You know, that's huge as a teenager to be as big as she was. I'm sure she was a teenager. She was very young at the time when she came out. So, but on this, it's solid. It's a chunky, solid, like filled to the brim of soul, but you're not going to break it. That's why it gave me the Mary vibes. Like, it's not dainty. It's not got the Liana La Havas. Like, I love that, but that feels more. This could break at any moment. This is like, no, bold, beautiful, strong, got a foundation to it. she could do this forever for me. And it just
she sounds like a professional, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
yes.
You can tell that she's a professional singer.
Mm.
And we have to put that as a part of it, right? Like that Nicole Ray and Billy Woods have this in common. They've been doing this a long fucking time.
Yeah.
And these albums, a lot of these albums are the product of a lot of work, right? Like Kelly Chris, a lot of work, a long career, where you had to build your skill set, right? Build your skill set to know where you wanted to be and put yourself exactly where you wanted to be in the comfort zone. And this, I mean, these are career bests, right? These are career albums. Piece of Me is something you'll always think of when you think of Nicole Ray.
Yeah.
Because it's that.
Absolutely. Sure.
That's, I had that experience. Yeah. I mean, it's momentous. It's great. I don't know if Ethiops will overtake it or not. But I mean, Ethiops still my favorite rap album of the year. It's just that there's so much going on, and I'm so happy that I was able to give you some new weird shit to enjoy.
I loved it. Could I ask two things?
Yes,
two things. This list is amazing. I love the effort and passion you have for this music because it reflects a lot of how I live my life. But one, Iblis, Raja's son. Was that anywhere in your list anywhere?
Oh my God. I just got into it. Because we had Dash Lewis on, and Dash Lewis brought it. And really impressed by it. I like that album a lot.
Yeah.
That's in my 5. That's in my top 5 of the year so far.
So what was your criteria? So let me ask Cam, we know what he listens for in the album. What do you listen for in your albums?
You know what? Maybe it's just me, but I don't go in when I first. I like the music to lead me, if you know what I mean, a little bit. So when I'm listening, I kind of know what Woods is going to bring, but it doesn't always get in my 5s. This year, it feels like I'm ready to go and live my life and be out and about. But I also don't want to let go of the shit that I've learned in the last few years. I think Billy Woods, I'm carrying him with me like that. But I think anything that gives me something that the production of Metatron's Cube, Iblis, Man Blows the Horn, Cities of Vive, that kind of production and feel that's just different. And something that I never thought I needed, if you know what I mean. I know what I need. I know I meet some potato rap. I know I love Apollo Brown. I know I love Sky Zoo. I know I have those are in my bag, and I'm there to support those artists. But when someone drops something a little bit like, I didn't know. Like I know we talk about Alchemist every year, right?
Right.
The Currency albums he's brought out, and I think is it Continuance, that one?
Yep.
There was so much music out this year. I slept on that, and now I listened to it recently because my friend brought it for our mid-year. He saw it in his mid-year. It's incredible, and now I'm feeling maybe that's where my love for it at the moment lies, is in the production more than the lyrics. And if the production can take me to somewhere where I'm rediscovering things about Sonics, and one of my other albums of the year is Burial. I don't know if you like Burial, but Burial's Anti-Dawn is like one of my, it's like an EP, but it is an album really, I would call it. But it's dubstep, but it's what memories sound like, is what I've said. It's that's production that is like, it's very, what's the word? It's electronic music, but it's also like ambient. I suppose it's gone into its ambient thing. I'm not sure if you're into that, but that kind of production leads me into worlds that I never knew I could go to. And I think that's where I'm at the moment. Still obviously love the lyrics and stuff like that. I love like some of these just mighty cannons. Like that's bars. Yeah, I'm here for it. But maybe it's not. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's not what I'm. Gets to my end of list. Just because I don't know. Just feels like I might just not listen to that as much. I don't know, man. But yeah,
I think it's about worlds you trust, right? It's about worlds that you love and trust. And when you listen to like Raja's Son as an example, even if you haven't heard the Iblis albums with Akai Solo, You can just listen to that album and be like, oh shit, I believe in this. I believe in it. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It doesn't, if your first Cities of Eve album was, you know, the Horn album, Man Plays the Horn, you're off to the races. You know, you've got a voice you know you can trust.
Yeah.
So
that didn't get on your list. I'm surprised that didn't get on your list.
It did, and I will say my problem with that album is there's 2 tracks on it, okay, that are instrumental and they're over 12 minutes each.
Should have been longer. Should have been longer.
Got 24 minutes of instrumentals dumped in the middle of an album that's already incredibly long.
Okay, I feel that.
It really messes the listening experience up for me. I don't know. That was my opinion.
See, I play my video games to that album and it works perfect at the moment.
Yeah.
It's kind of slightly got back into my gaming a little bit, like as much as a 41-year-old dad can do, you know. So that little hour, I'm like, yeah, that's the album I'm going to go. Or Roger's Son, it's one of them too. But yeah, no.
I mean, what I love about these lists and like all lists is it doesn't, we're not saying these are the best albums of the year. These lists are like reflections of people's sensibilities, you know what I mean, and where they're at in their current space, you know, where they're at in their life. So, you know, you can tell, you look at a list and you can tell kind of what that person values, what their sensibilities are at the time. So it's just a reflection of that.
Yeah, Man Plays the Horn's like one of those great movies that's a little too long for me.
Right.
But yes, Kay's right. Like you know, it's just about what you want, right? You're in the store and you're getting what you want, and then this is what I've wanted. It's been a great year for R&B, for soul, for rap. It's been the continual kind of, I mean, the Afro pop stuff is still coming. It's still, you know, incredible. So there's a lot of stuff going on all over the place. The UK stuff, Juggernaut used to be on this list. Situation is 3.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, Canadian, Lord's Juco, Res Fresco, all that shit. Daniel Son. There's so people all over the place popping. It's popping.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely.
Yep. So
that reminds me about the globalization thing. Oh my god, we've gone all full circle. We're just about to end this as well. I'm so sorry, we've been here for like 2.5 hours. No, you know, you just said there's people everywhere doing it. I don't know even if you guys know this, but there is. I'm Punjabi heritage. I'm a Punjabi guy. So that's northern India, right? My home, where my parents are, is farmland, agriculture, very much that for miles and miles and miles. Now this year there was an Indian rapper who was actually shot dead, and his name was Sidhu Moosewala, and he was very much from that area, villages full of 30 people, I'm talking, right? And somehow he heard Big Pun, somehow he heard Tupac, and he became a famous rapper with 500, 600, 700 million views on videos, right? That's how big he was. Drake put him on his Instagram saying R.I.P. Moose. He did stuff with Stefan London. He was huge, and he got assassinated this year. Got shot up. He's some gangland shit in India. He was 27. And that made me really hit home this year for me, where I was like, that is mental that Big Pun traveled from there in that borough all the way to where my mum was born in like a little shed. And this guy went on to then make millions and then and his funeral was ridiculous because it was basically all of the farmers come out for his funeral because he was them. I'm just saying, this is for hip hop heads who may not know where hip hop can travel to, but in areas you never thought. And I just thought that linked to what you said earlier, Kay, and then links to what you're saying. Like, this shit is everywhere right now. You don't need 500 million views on YouTube, but you know.
And people have to realize it's such a vital thing in art, right? Mm-hmm. For me, when I hear that, it kind of it reminds me of Akira Kurosawa and John Ford.
Yeah.
Right? That like Akira Kurosawa in Japan loved John Ford Westerns and made incredible shit, Japanese films that inspired Westerns.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a
They
circle
inspired
thing, yeah.
Clint Eastwood Westerns later in the 70s, like, and Star Wars, for fuck's sake. So, it's that cross-pollination is vital. It's just vital. And it's so it's important to note. We should do a little bit of recommendation corner here, just to get the people some recommendations. What do we got? Sleep Sinatra dropped today with 8 Bizza Spirit Box. I fucking love it. Love this. It's really cool. Iceberg Theory's on it. Flash is Clayton. Man, who was Vic Spencer. Another crazy Vic Spencer.
Oh, wow.
Love it. There's going to be some, there's some other stuff that I'll put out for subscribers. There's some pre-orders that you need to know, that you need to get on your list. But another one of those is the Wrecking Crew, Sedale Threat.
They're back.
Have you heard the single?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, the single has Casual from Hyra.
No.
And he leads off, and it is insane.
Oh my days.
Insane. And it's a Small Professor beat. You get to hear Casual on a Small Professor beat.
What a time to be alive.
This album, Wrecking Crew, unfucking believable.
Love that.
Yeah, the Givian is wonderful. Do you have any recommendations, Kay?
No, I got to dig into that Givian. I didn't even know he was coming out today. So
crazy.
That's real.
I got one album. I got one album that maybe people need to talk about more. It's not come out recently though, but we all know Twami and what he's done before. His beat tape, A Question Called Twami, is just brilliant. Love that beat tape. It's one of my favorite beat tape of the year, actually, I think. So if anyone wants a beat tape to just do your homework too, there you go.
I want to throw out some love to I mean, I can't tell you enough how much I love just hearing people kill it. There's an album called The Turning Point, right? And it's known as Nonazz. The producer is Clown Cat, KLWN Cat, 2 words. And I heard about this from No God, who is on the album a few times. These are just really young cats who made an amazing boom bap album, and they're all super young.
Okay, love that artwork.
Love it. So it's a really cool album. People should check it out. We gotta talk about this thing more. But yes, thank you everybody for coming along. Thank you for all the love we get. It's unfucking believable, and it's booking up, and couldn't be happier. So yeah.
Keep smashing it, man. Keep smashing it.
Absolutely. And welcome, DeAnthony Melton. We're here for you.